Welcome to this Connect M3 Thought Byte podcast recorded on the 4th of July 2025. I'm David Charles and my Thought Byte today is titled Government Lessons in Failure. Is it only me who can see the, my word, stupidity of what the UK is witnessing week on week, month on month, year on year, in that place of power people call Parliament? What have we to learn from these lessons? I am reminded of a TV commercial from the 1970s I've seen which depicts ETs laughing their socks off at humans who peel potatoes and boil them for 20 of their minutes so to eat as food. The ETs thought it hilarious that humans did that rather than eat potato mix from a bag, just needing hot water. Since then, processed food has really caught on, and that's another story. Those same ETs and others from intelligent grown-up societies around the galaxy must surely be laughing at the way we organise the management of our society. I mean, who would do it this way? Really? It's so primitive, so damaging, and all who care can be brought to tears. Speaking of tears, it was just this week the country's Chancellor herself, Rachel Reeves, was brought to tears as she sat behind her master, the current acting High Chancellor, Keir Starmer. He was putting the usual sugar-coated spin on his latest policy U-turn. This particular U-turn related to the backtracking on the penalising provisions of the welfare bill, as drafted to save over £5 billion, as strategised by Rachel Reeves. It is not known precisely why the tears were shed, but it might well have been due to the public humiliation which this U-turn attracted to her and her master. The parliamentary debate on the welfare bill, where SMPs, one after the other, had opportunity to share their views and opinions, was shambolic. Those statements shared by SMPs to all others present over a lengthy multi-hour session were part of something truly gobsmacking and truly revealing, according to many commentators. SMPs of different parties effectively said the same thing. The welfare bill, as drafted, was left gutted. It was drafted to save over £5 billion, but during the so-called debate by representatives of the people, the major element of the bill to save the lion's share of that £5 billion, being Article 5 and central core of the bill, was pulled. It was deleted. The result of that being the savings are now considered to max at £0.5 billion. That's just 10% of that originally projected figure. The possible worst outcome, if the bill is passed into law, may instead actually increase costs rather than reduce them in savings. This story of the welfare bill is just one among so many that so clearly demonstrates the primitive nature of how the affairs of society are so badly orchestrated. One might wonder if a class of fifth formers from a central London school, say, were commissioned to design a new management system for society to replace the system currently called government, they could not fail to plan something far better for all of us. Not wishing to add to the workloads of fifth formers anywhere, I'd like to take this opportunity to drop on the table, for reasoned debate by anyone, a basic and fundamental idea. An idea which could be the start of something revolutionary and change the system of society management forever. I'd like to think it might be exactly what an intelligent grown-up society might be doing anywhere and everywhere else in the galaxy. The idea is to approach debate with the mountain principle. The object of the mountain principled debate is not to win an argument, but instead to find an agreed right or best answer to a problem or issue. In a mountain principle debate, the debaters do not use their contributions to win over an argument. Instead, they use their contributions to add to a collection of shared knowledge, expertise, experience, and even insight. All such aspects which are unlikely to be known in whole or in part by the other debaters. It is about constructively combining with a common purpose. Consider this. In life, we all have different pathways. We all have different experiences and come to acquire knowledge in a wide expanse of different areas. Few have exactly the same path, which makes us all pretty unique. An advanced, intelligent, grown-up society would naturally recognize these differences as intrinsically useful and would doubtless apply them to best effect. But what does best effect look like? In a parliamentary debate, as so many of us witness, SNP after SNP share an opinion or viewpoint on a subject of focus. Their contributions are placed in the mix, often with hundreds of others, perhaps all equally valid and deserving of further examination. And that is where the parliamentary system fails. In fact, in reality, it fails society. Shared knowledge and experiences need further examination and testing. It is not something, however, that happens in our parliamentary system. Let's look at an example, a debate involving the whole House of 650 SNPs. They might all be agreed on some element of detail which is tabled for a vote, except for just one SNP. One SNP makes a statement that is quite extraordinary, which 649 SNPs think is bonkers. A vote takes place and the 649 SNPs are all satisfied. The 650th is of course not. But does that make that one SNP wrong? Well, not necessarily. That SNP could be totally misinformed, thus making their contribution totally invalid. Alternatively, that SNP could be 100% correct, and the point they make is not only correct, but possibly hugely material. That one SNP could be, and probably is, the one SNP with the key to the issue getting the right outcome. I'm using the rule of absurdity here, but the absurdity makes the point perfectly. You could be the only one of 650 who knows what's right. What should happen, but doesn't in our parliamentary system, is that contributions should be organised, assessed and tested. That begins with accumulating evidence which supports the contributions made. A real-life example. Andrew Bridgen, Christopher Chope and Danny Kruger spoke passionately during a committee room debate in Parliament on the 24th of October 2022. The subject was the COVID-19 vaccines' safety. First thing to note is, this debate only happened as a result of over 107,000 society members signing a petition calling for a debate. Oddly, the subject would not otherwise have been debated by any of the SNPs in any of Parliament's debating chambers. A very odd position indeed, and another lesson of failure to be marked here. After just 90 minutes of various statements being made by the above-named SNPs who called for further investigations into safety, and others arguing that wasn't necessary, the debate concluded with a vote. The vote was not 1. To reconvene to discuss the issue more fully, 2. To appoint a committee to look more deeply at the issue, or 3. To examine the available evidence connected with the issue. Instead, the vote resolved that this House has considered the e-petition, as it's called, 602171. The House then emptied and everyone went to catch trains. No further action was required or ordered. That was the end of the matter. It was possibly the most important issue for the whole country at that time, but it was not properly addressed. Oh, and on a point of order, or rather observation, there were more attending that debate in that committee room, filling the public gallery, than there were SMPs. It's believed SMPs had been ordered to not attend. Leaving aside the C-19 vaccine safety issue, this debate, like so many others, was not in the least focused on getting to the truth and making the right or best decision. If it were, all three of the above options would have been addressed and voted on, and done so by all 650 SMPs. Parliament thus failed society, again, by its own lack of procedure. If one feels that taking time to assemble different SMP statements into their different viewpoints and opinions is far too time-consuming, then are we not placing society at risk of making wrong decisions? The outcome of the debate described above on the safety of C-19 vaccines might confirm so. So what could possibly be the answer to this? Well, I believe an African once said, "It takes a whole village to raise a child." What if we said it takes a whole village to properly run a village? What if, therefore, we were to arrange society differently? What if we invite people in the village to form small, manageable groups to debate major issues at the local level? The issues being debated there first and centred on accumulated evidence which the villagers themselves accumulate. And here it's important to make clear, the type of debate which is followed is the mountain principle. The principle is based on the primary object being to contribute, in the best way one can, to the obtaining of truth. That truth will doubtless be multifaceted, such is the nature of things. The mountain principle is called such as it describes the ascent of a mountain by a myriad of different paths. Climbers take those different paths and, by result, naturally acquire different experiences and views of the surrounding landscape. At the summit, the climbers have a full 360-degree view of everything around them, and there they compare notes. They all have evidenced experiences, different encounters along the paths, and varying views of the landscapes. All are right with their own personal accounts. With full knowledge of the mountain and all the alternative paths explored, it is so much easier to determine which of all the paths up the mountain is simply the best. There could still be a difference of opinion on, say, a perceived level of risk, but the difference with the mountain approach is that the intention of all the climbers is to agree the best outcome from well-considered accounts and evidence. Truth is the single goal, as opposed to winning the argument. Politicians, as we've all seen, are not always interested in the truth, or even less getting to the best decision. They are focused on winning the argument, even if it means being shown to be wrong. The last few weeks in Parliament has demonstrated this failure in this system so perfectly. The object should always be truth, and once reached, it is the one place where the most valid of decisions, the wisest of decisions, can be made. In the case of the welfare bill voted on in Parliament last week, truth was not reached as a goal and no truth was seen as evidenced. What society witnessed was a haphazard collection of statements that were neither organised intelligently, assessed, nor evidenced. Frankly, those fifth formers could do so much better, and it would be a fascinating exercise to let them have a go, starting from scratch. Oh, and by the way, that vote on the welfare bill on the day, 335 SMPs backed it, 260 SMPs rejected it, meaning 260 were not satisfied. 260 SMPs, not just one, thought the decision to back it was wrong. So who really won that day? The UK PM and his party, or society? Either way, the consequences for society are completely unknown. I believe the government, Parliament really, has shown us the basic lessons in exactly how not to run society. That being so, is this the perfect time now to take note of those lessons and change how we do things? Should we start by looking at the village idea and the mountain principle? Should we, instead of promoting greater interest in politics, start this: promoting interest in society management, involving all the village? So that's my current thinking, opinion and idea on this subject today. But I wonder, what are your thoughts? Thank you for listening to this Thought Byte today. I hope it's given you further things to think about on this important subject. For further information on this and related subjects, do check out the PDF version of this article. It contains a number of links to supporting articles, plus links to many other enlightening and fascinating articles on a variety of topics. Meanwhile, I look forward to sharing my next Thought Byte with you very soon. Goodbye.